Hi everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to make a shadow box spacer for an 8x8 glass frame with insert. In Cricut Design Space, I have shared with you the template. There's 5 different sizes of the templates that you will need. And so today I'm going to show you how to weld the design from my 3D SVG. This is the cross called Forgiven. You will need to reduce this design to 7.28 in order for it to work with this template. Once you reduce the size, go ahead and ungroup the design and kind of lay it all out in order. So that's the first one here and the second. So we're gonna go ahead and lay out every layer here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's about 14 layers for this design. Now, usually, I don't count this because that's just a big square that's just going to go right onto the very back of the frame. So we won't count the very last layer. Now, as you can see that each of the spacer, they're different in width of the edge here. So I'll zoom in a little bit just to show you. So this is the top layer. It is a little bit more wider right here on the edge, and then it gets smaller and smaller as it goes down to the very last layer, which the space it's folded in here. It is very, very narrow. So what does that mean? So what it means is that when it is very narrow, you cannot fit that many layers to that. I'm going to show you one that I did here. So this is that very last layer, but look how shallow the depth is. So when you're doing this very last layer, you can only probably attach one more layer to the back or attach another layer to the top, but you don't want too many layers for that last frame there. Okay, so the hardest part of making doing this project is trying to find 5 layers to weld into the spacers. So usually the top one, it will always be the very top layer, so layer 1. So that one's going to get welded in. Then you have to think about the rest of the layers here. Looks like there's about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's about 12 more layers here. And we know that this very last one, it's very narrow. So we want to weld in probably one of the 2 layers at the very bottom here. Now, what I did for this project here, I decided to use this one, leave this one out. So this one can go behind. That is the last layer here. So that's going to go behind. So I'm going to weld this layer instead. And then this one is just going to go right behind it. So I'm going to weld this one. That one's going to go behind it. I'm going to leave that one alone. And then we're going to look at this one here. Now, the rule is try not to weld layers that have the most intricate cuts. So try to avoid that. Let me look here. So this one here is pretty small. So I'm going to put that one with the first. And that one kind of go together. So what I did, I used layer 4 to weld into the second spacer. And then I used layer 7 to weld into the third spacer. And I think I I use, what layer is this here? Layer 10. So I use layer 10, weld into the 4th spacer, and then of course layer 12 into the last spacer. And then everything else will cut out just the size that we have reduced it to. So I'll just move all these aside because those, you're just gonna cut it just as is. But let me show you how to layer these 5 spacer here. So for the first one, there's a score line on there. You want to remove the score line first before you weld, or else you will lose that score line. So detach score line, and then move this layer to the spacer. Make sure it is arranged to the back. That way when you weld it, it will change to the color of that layer that you want. So once you arrange it to the back, select them both, go to Align, Center, then go to Combine, and Weld. So that is your first one. Bring the score line back. Go and bring that score line to the top here. So there you go, there's score line on the top. Select them both, Align, Center, and Attach. So now we just weld our first layer. And then here is our second spacer, which is layer 4 I'm gonna weld. So detach the score line, move that aside, bring the layer to the spacer there and arrange that to the back. Select them both, Align, Center, Combine, Weld. And then bring the score line back. Make sure that score line is arranged to the front, and select them both, Align, Center, Attach. So we just arrange our second spacer here. Look at our third one, which is layer 7. And see here, let's go ahead and detach score line, move that aside, place the layer over, arrange it to the back, select them both, Align, Center, Combine, Weld. Bring the score line back, arrange that to the top. Oops. Select them both, Align, Center, and Attach. Look at our fourth spacer here. So detach the score line, move that aside. Now move your design layer to the back. Select them both, Align, Center, whoops, didn't center, select them both, Align, Center, Combine, Weld. And it did not weld. Try again. Combine and weld. There you go. Bring the score line back, arrange it to the front, select them both, Align, Center, Attached. Now let's do the last one here. So detach the score line, bring the design layer over, arrange it to the back, select them both, Align, Center, Combine, Weld. Bring the score line back up, arrange that to the front, select them both, Align, Center, Attach. So there it is. So we just attach 5 layers to each of the spacers, and so all you have to do is just cut it out and cut everything out just as is. And once that is done, I will show you how to assemble. So that just conclude the video portion. Let me show you what I have here. Sorry. Okay, so what I have here, so this one was the first spacer, the top one that I weld, and so I glue layer 2 right here to the back of it. So this is the top layer, and I glue it to the layer 2, and that one's just going to go right into the frame. And then the next one, and you can see all the numbers, so you pretty much assemble them the same way that you would with any shadow box there. So layer 3, I glued onto the second spacer. That was layer 4. So I just glued it on, and there's nothing on the back. So I just glue layer 3 to a layer 4 and place that one into the frame. Then we have layer 5 with layer 6, and I believe layer 7. Oh, looks like I did this opposite, but that's okay. So in the video, I showed you that I weld layer 7, but looks like I weld layer 8 instead. But it really doesn't matter. If you weld layer 7, you can just glue the layer 8 on onto the back of layer 7, and then the layer 6 get glued onto the layer 7. And this is layer 5. I was thinking of gluing layer 5 to the back of layer 4, but then I wanted a little flower to kind of pop out. So I think I'm going to glue layer 5 to layer 6 right here. So I'll just glue the corner lightly. You don't need a whole lot of glue. Just do that here. Okay, so here it is. So on the spacer 3, I glued layer 5, 6, 7, and 8 all together. So that is spacer 3. Then spacer 4, it looks like I glued layer 9 to spacer 4. That was layer 10. And then I also glued layer 11 to the back of it. So there's 3 layers to spacer 4. Put that into the frame there. And then the last one, the last spacer, that was layer 12. Now, I choose not to put any other layer on top or on the bottom. So initially, it was layer 13 that I was going to put it right behind it. But in this case, I decided to attach the very last layer and layer 13 onto the board here of the frame. So that's what I did here. So let's assemble, and I'll show you how it looks like here. So everything is all in the frame, in order. And then this one here, just gonna go right on top of it. And if it fit. There you go. Okay. So let's look at it here. So there it is. I think it looks pretty good. All right, enjoy crafting, guys. Good night. Thanks for watching.